And good morning to the world and to Las Vegas, Nevada, and the rest of the country out there. I hope everybody's having a wonderful time. We're about 3 minutes after the hour of 8 o'clock on a Saturday. It's the 14th of July, and it's rather nice outside. Let's pop over and see what the weather has to say for us today. We're looking at about 87 degrees on the outside here in Las Vegas. I just changed it over. It's 89 actually. Going to be nice weather, about 104. It's going to be humid out there, so it's going to be really rough because when you have the heat and the humidity together, that really takes the dumps, if you will. Anyway, it looks like I'm live on Facebook again. Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard. If you're with me on the Facebook, that's perfectly fine. You can listen to me on www.therebelhd2.com. And if you want to make a phone call into the studio, 702-895-3915. Yes, folks, there's a lot of idiocy out there this week. Unbelievable. It's... What's really interesting is I ran across a post I'm looking at here on Facebook. It was really cool. And it says, and I love it, this just floored me when I read this. It says, when you are dead, you don't know that you're dead. All of the pain is felt by others. The same thing happens when you're stupid. I'm telling you, that statement says it all, man. It's absolutely hilarious if you think about it, is because stupidity is what it is. Okay, let's be, stupid is as stupid does, if you will. But the pain is felt by others because of the stupidity. And after anybody that saw this testimony with Peter Stokes, you know that our entire congressional congregation, both Republicans and Democrats, they're stupid. Either they're totally stupid or they think the American people are stupid. Okay, there was a lot of issues that was presented that people actually, how do I want to say it? They actually thought they were doing some good. But most of them are grandstanding for the camera. And it's just mind-boggling of what they will do. Let's see. How do we want... There's so much I have here in front of me that I want to get into. But I guess the reason why I brought up the Peter Stokes thing is because it was 10 hours of just wanting to run my head into the brick wall stupidity. First off, this guy Peter Stokes, he has no patriotism in my mind whatsoever. Anybody that could be grilled like he was grilled one way or the other about the things that the FBI were involved with and how our country is operated, to actually have a nonchalant, do not care attitude like he had, and the man still has his clearances. Unbelievable. I'm infuriated by it. And the reason why I'm infuriated by it is because it just proves that there are a lot of people in our leadership positions that do not care about this country. It's all self-satisfaction they're looking for. They want their power back. They can't stand that Trump has become the leader of the world, and he's doing an incredible job. Even over in Europe, if you're protesting Trump over there, what are you protesting him for? Everything that you're protesting over there has nothing to do with your country. But when they did a survey of the people that are protesting, it was definitely the Socialistic Party and the anti-Brexit people. This was in London. And you got a few people over in Scotland that are trying to get some kind of a protest going on. And everybody was going, the mainstream media, and I still don't understand why they call them the mainstream media, These people are so slanted and biased, and they're trying to prove Peter Stokes is biased. Come on. Oh, this is calling the kettle black. Are you serious, people? So they are having an orgasm over the baby Trump balloon. What on earth are you people thinking this is? First off, I thought it was funny as all get out. I thought it was great. Eh, but to really think about this, folks. Okay. They hate President Trump. And you noticed if you're watching live on Facebook that I'm wearing my Make America Great Again hat for all the people who are catching crap about wearing their hats. And that right there is another whole issue I want to get into. But anyway, the baby Trump balloon is something that somebody spent money on. They had an idea. They took their own money or whatever money they got it from, went to a company, told the company to make it for them by a certain date, so they had it made, and then they had to get it over there or wherever they were taking it to, had people blow it up and then hold it just so they can have a balloon of Trump in a diaper. But think about that. That's huge in a sense of going far. It's different than an effigy. An effigy is something you'll grab together, throw it in your backyard, put it together, and you march with it and burn it or whatever you want to do with it. That's perfectly fine because that's something that you're doing personally. But these people are actually taking serious dollars to promote anarchy against our elected president. And that's our elected president. I mean, everything that I have to talk about today, all is like intertwined in a sense. And some of the things that are intertwined are the election, for one thing. Also, the 12 Russians that were indicted. What's that all about? You're indicting 12 people that are in a different country, of a country that presumably hates us and wants to destroy us, and we're going to indict 12 people on charges that, like, oh, wait a second, Putin's going to say, okay, you can have them back. You guys get on an airplane, go face the idiocy of the Democratic left, justice, which they're only going to use for their own political ends and means. That's about it. And I don't care what they say in both presses. When Rosenstein did the news conference of that was all staged. I'm in media. I've been in media and the entertainment industry for a lot of years. And I know how corrupt and stupid it is because of the way they think. And there isn't anything news-wise. Oh, there goes the lights again, of course. Let's just swing back a little bit. Wave the magic wand and the lights come back on again. Maybe that's the Democrats saying, hey, Russ, your lights are out or something like that. Who knows? But there isn't anything that you see on television nowadays that has not been planned or prepared for. I don't care what news station you're watching. I don't care what commercial you're watching, what television station, whatever you're doing. It's been planned for it. Even my radio show here, it's been planned out to have some kind of a guidelines of where I want to go and take the show to. Whether you agree with my points of view or whether you don't agree with my points of view, so be it. But the point is that there is nothing that is off the cuff. When television first started, if you look back at the old reels of commercials and variety shows like the Carol Burnett show and stuff like that, a lot of that was off the cuff. But then they found out that if they can start manipulating people's brains, and it's very easy to manipulate the brains of the youth nowadays. Their heads are so far up their cell phones, it's unbelievable. I mean, that's all they... I'm getting off track here. Okay. let's bring it back, Russ. Calm down, chill out. Must have been yesterday was Friday the 13th is what it was, Had a terrible day at the casinos. Lost my backside. Now I have to go back to work and make some money to start gambling again. So, anyway, that being said, whatever. I have a little thing here about the elections. Let's get down to the nitty gritty about the elections, and it's what started all this stuff off for me. It just twisted me to no end. Okay. I wrote it up. I'm just going to read it verbatim for what I have here. Till this day, I can't believe the crap people spew about our elections. First, the reason our elections is designed like it is because our founding fathers understood the influences that could be put on the election process. These people came from other countries when they came over here to do something good with themselves. And they understand the process, okay, of the elections. They also understood the manipulation of what could be done to an election process, or the electoral process, if you will. You take just about every country in the world, and they pretty much have the balloting box. You come up, you put your ballot in there, you stick your little finger in the purple jar, or you say, I vote A or B, or however you want to do it. And that's it. Election like that can be manipulated by the balloting, stuffing ballot boxes, and so on and so forth. So, what we have in the world of election is that, how do you want to say this? You have 3 stages or better to understand the election process. This is why it drives me nuts about the collusion for Russia trying to manipulate our election. The way they can manipulate it is by posting false information on our social media, this kind of stuff along the lines, which is perfectly fine. You can definitely understand the election process. But when we elect folks, whether it be president or whatever, we have a primary, which you get all the people that want to run for this position, this seat, this election, this position, whatever it may be, where you run, and then you say, okay, this is the person that we want to have representing our party. And since we are only a 2-party nation now, even though you have the independents and the Green Party and along those lines, you still have the choice of which party you'd like to have. So after the primaries, now we have the proverbial 2 people that will run for office. Okay. So after that, then we go back to the ballot box to vote again after all the posturing that they have to do to win your vote. So why would they spend millions and millions and millions of dollars to get you to vote their way if they're going to manipulate the election in the end anyway? Is it just for the fact of making money or whatever it may be? So, okay, so nowhere else in the world are elections held with a 3-tier process. That is why the state's votes are separated and tallied, then given to the Electoral College to select who the people want. So, the reason why we do what we do is we have a primary, then we have the election, and then from those elections, it's handed over to the Electoral College. This is for president. And then the Electoral College decides how many people voted here, how many people voted here, and they have to vote, place their ballots according to the people's needs and wants. So you have 3 stages. So for any other country or organization trying to manipulate the vote via computer or ballot box or whatever it may be, they have a real serious problem on their hands. And that problem is you can't continually do that to sway the people. And that brings us to the reason why Trump became president is because the American people are good people. However, we do have a tendency to slack off and let other people deal with our problems, whether it be health care, whether it be job looking, whether it be food stamps, whether it be election process. They said, oh, that's okay, that's what it is. Unless they say something they don't like. If they say one word that you don't like, oh my God, the earth opens up and you're swallowed by the devil himself just because you said a bad word. Now, who constitutes what a bad word is another whole issue. Anyway, so you cannot stuff a ballot box or change the voting process via computers because you do not have to only fix the computers, but you also have to buy off the entire electoral college, also because their votes are regulated according to the people's choice. Hence, this is the reason the funding is so important in the election campaigns. They need those fundings to persuade the American people that their candidate is the best candidate for that position, whether to destroy the other candidate or whether to promote how well they would be in that position. However they position it, to convince you to vote for them is the way it has to be done. You can't isolate one over the other. If you do isolate it, then you have another process that comes into play later on, and then you have to start it all over again, trying to isolate that and get them under there. So our election process is probably the best in the world, even though people yell and scream. And let's look at it this way. They're saying that the Russians colluded to have Trump president. So if that is true, they didn't do their job well because Clinton got 3 million more votes than Trump did. The difference being is Clinton got her 3 million in California and New York, probably some of the most liberal and the proverbial progressive, which is the new word for communism, Marxism, or whatever, which is another issue I want to get into, is where those elections. And if we just had the vote by the people, we'd have California and New York telling us who's going to be our leaders from then on. The rest of the country can go right down the tubes according to the democratic liberal process. So, that being said, okay, let's get on to it. Okay. No other country spends so much in trying to influence the general population as we do. Think of it like this. The first primary, you have to convince everyone to vote for a person. Then back to the ballot box to vote again for the person chosen by the primary. Then once the ballots are cast, the Electoral College casts their vote according to the people's wishes. Finally, after all the voting is complete, there is the validation step and any dissenting accusations that need to be addressed. Once the confirmation has been completed, we then confirm the elected person for the office. So not only after everything has been done in our process, the person gets the president-elect, let's just say Trump, Bush, Clinton, whoever it was, Obama. Then it has to be validated and verified to make sure all the ballots are in. Because just because the voting is done, you still have the absentee ballots, and then you get the complaining about the Chads. Remember all that hoopla and everything else was the Chads. Ooh, the Chads. So you're trying to tell me that you have the entire state of Florida that couldn't punch a hole in a card. Please, people, give me a break. I am so tired of this. If you had a brain about you, you would understand that even though our election process is being manipulated heavily by the funding of other people, it only manipulates the initial voting. It has to go through 2 or 3 stages before everything is finalized. So, that being said, let's move on to. Oh, what are we gonna do here? Okay. Jeez, I got. Let's see. The Russian agents indicted in the Mueller investigation. That's a hoot. I mean, come on, look at this. The Washington Post is just going nuts on their stuff here. Ugh. All right, we've got 12 indicted Russians. Ooh, these Russians have tried to manipulate the election. They are bad people. But wait a second, people. It's all about the DNC. These Russians were manipulating the DNC, presumably against Bernie Sanders, and trying to get a hold of Hillary's unsecured server. And what's her name? Debbie Wasserman Schultz, that was doing all the underhanded stuff too to keep Bernie Sanders from running for the election. It's just unbelievable what's going on. I want to step back a little bit on the primary election. If these 12 people were working for Trump, they had to go out there and get 17 people were running in the primary against Trump. Some of the most prominent people. You had the Bush out there. You had Huckabee, who was a great man. I like Huckabee a lot. And Cruz, and the names go on and on and on of all these people that wanted to be president. And he knocked them all out. So if the Russians had that much influence on our election, we are in deep trouble, because that means nothing in our electoral college or how we even present our government to the people have no control. That means it's all our congressmen, all our legislators, all our presidents, everybody that run our country are under the thumbscrews of Russia. So, think about that. Are you telling me it's a break time again? I guess it is. So, this is Russell Mays, KUNV. Hang tight. Be right back in just a moment.
Prescription opioids can be addictive and dangerous.
My son Steve did not want to die, but his prescription opioids killed him. We found a Post-it note that he had written about his experience with his opioids. At first, it was a lifeline. Now it is a noose around my neck. You never expect that you're going to lose a child. It's all out of order.
Prescription opioids. It only takes a little to lose a lot. Visit cdc.gov/RxAwareness.
This is Governor Brian Sandoval. Since 2010 in Nevada, more than 2,800 people have died, and there have been more than 30,000 visits to the emergency room because of opioid overdoses. Opioid abuse rewires a person's brain, leading to addiction. So if there's a chance of addiction for you or someone you love, seek help immediately. Go to healthierNV.org for information and resources.
This message, sponsored by the Nevada Department of Health and Human Services, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is member-supported.
And we're back. Okay, make sure the opioid addictions, right along with the rest of them that we have going on in this country, because we won't secure the borders out there. So make sure the borders are secured, people. So that's a whole nother issue, too. I've got a lot of issues today. You know that? It must have been because yesterday was Friday the 13th. That's all I can say, is my issues are deeply rooted in a lot of things. So anyway, let me get down to it. It says here, the special counsel investigating Russia interference in the 2016 election issued an indictment of 12 Russian intelligence officers on Friday in the hacking of the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, and the Clinton presidential campaign. The indictment came only 3 days before President Trump was planning to meet with the President Vladimir Putin of Russia in Helsinki, Finland. Think about this, folks. When I said earlier that nothing that you hear or see or pretty much read now in the press about what's going on in the world is not pre-planned. This actual notification of the indictment was planned to be done exactly the way it was done. They say, no, it was just coincidence. No, I'm sorry, it wasn't coincidence. If it was coincidence, I'll tell you what is not planned. And this is what happened a long time ago. You folks might want to know that OJ and the Broncos story where he's driving down the freeway, threatening to kill himself, and all this kind of stuff. My friend, back then at the time, was going to release one of the most spectacular musical concerts in LA at the time. They had spent, are you ready for this? Almost $32 million in a promotional package that was to be released and to promote this whole shebang that was coming up. Okay, so it was all geared. The whole thing went down the tubes because of OJ and his Bronco on the freeway. The media went nuts. They closed out all the advertising and everything else. Man lost a lot of money on his endeavor. Granted, it didn't really hurt him that much because, sometimes the folks that you know. Anyway, that there is what would be a coincidental incident. Something unforeseen. Them releasing this report about indicting the 12 Russian agents, which were under investigation, presumably underneath the Obama administration at the time, was not a coincidence. They didn't say, oh, I just tripped over the carpet, we better release this. I'm sorry, folks. This just happened to fall out of the sky and landed in my hand. Let me go ahead and release this. Rosenstein did this intentionally. There's no doubt about it. Now the press has gone absolutely nuts, telling Trump that he should not meet with Putin. Are you people out of your mind? First off, you can't even get a story right, or at least legitimately talking honestly about what's going on in our world, to tell our president what he should and shouldn't do. They could care less what Trump does. All they want is you, the American people, to hate him, to get whomever will be running for election in 2020, to get Trump out of there. But I hate to tell you this, Trump's going to be in for another, 4 years on 2020. He's going to win huge. So, that being said, it states here, the 29-page indictment is the most detailed accusation by the government, American government, to date of the Russian government's influence in the 2016 election, and it includes a litany of brazen Russian subterfuge operations meant to foment chaos in the moments before Election Day. Hold on. Whoa. You have 12 spies, let's just say, that are influencing or trying to hack into the Clinton campaign to destroy her, to take away her emails, to manipulate the election to make Trump the man they want in the office. There goes my lights again. I don't know why they do this to me, but they do it. So, anyway, think about this. 29 pages of indictment explaining and laying out everything that's going on with this indictment of 12 people now. 12. Okay. I don't know if some of you are getting the idea of where I'm going with this. So every time they come up with, first off, they have 29 pages that they immediately release to the people. The DOJ will not even turn over the paperwork of the Mueller investigation to the Congress that they've been asking for months and months and months. And when they do turn something over, the thing is like 500 pages thick with nothing but BS. But yet we have right here 12 foreign Russian spies that are against our country. And it's only 29 pages. And it's everything in there explaining everything down the road. And we have that idiot Stokes sitting there smirking with his smirk saying, oh, I'm sorry, I don't know. Oh, I can't talk to you about that. Oh, that's not privileged information. And he's loving every minute of it. It's also the reason why they won't have Lisa Page testify in public. They'll trash her. Oh, she'll break in an instant. I know that. So, anyway, that's just one of my pet peeves right now with the Russian investigation and the 12 people that were indicted. All right, so moving right along with the same thing with the indictment. Something that twisted me, and I think it should twist just about everybody in this country who's a patriot and believes in the freedom that we deserve and we live to live our lives freely without interference of our government. And that's what the Constitution is about. It's about the government not having the right to interfere with a person's life. It's not about running the country. It's about what they cannot do to the people. So, that being stated, I'm just going to read this a little bit of a statement here. The Purple Heart. In the United States military, decorations awarded in the name of the president to who's wounded or killed while serving on or after April 5th, 1970, with the U.S. The print is very small here, so bear with me, folks, here. Let me try this again. The Purple Heart is a United States military decoration awarded in the name of the president to those wounded or killed while served on or after April 5th, 1917. With the U.S. military, with its forerunner, the Badge of Military Merit, which took the form of a heart made of purple cloth. The Purple Heart is the oldest military award still given to the U.S. military member. The only earlier award being the obsolete Fidelity Medallion. The National Purple Heart Hall of Honor is located in New Windsor, New York. Okay. There's a reason why George Washington is on the Purple Heart. It is because the Purple Heart honors those that gave their life and or suffered for the betterment of this country. And it's done posthumously through the president, honoring our military members and the sacrifices that they have done or incurred to protect you. When you have that jerk, Steve Cohen, congressman from Tennessee, stating that Peter Stokes should get a Purple Heart for lying, for manipulating information to bring down this country or to create chaos within our political system, just because he didn't like the person that won the election? Think about this, folks. This should infuriate people to no end. It's one of the reasons why I'm wearing Make America Again hat, is because you have the left, the stupid people out there, running around causing problems. They even had an Uber driver throw people out of his Uber because they were wearing the hat. Why is that? Why are you hated so much that somebody that says "Make America Great Again" and you hate that statement? Doesn't matter who said the statement, but you don't like that statement so much that you hate America like that? And you have people getting violent over a beautiful statement of making our country great again, and then you have this Steve Cohen, congressman of Tennessee, stating that that would be like Benedict Arnold, because you stabbed America in the back, I think we should give you America's most prestigious award. And that's a sacrificial award in a sense. Something that you gave of yourself to help our country. And he soiled this, the whole image of the Purple Heart, by making that statement. And that's exactly what I mean. He soiled the image of our Purple Heart winners. Why would he do that? Was he trying to really build up Peter Stokes' image like he's done something great by denying and lying and manipulating and authorizing 3 different forms of the FISA report to start an investigation against one of our own? What is with these people? I mean, seriously, that's the reason why I read that statement that was posted on Facebook. When you are dead, you don't know that you're dead. All of the pain is felt by others. And the same thing happens when you are stupid. The stupidity of these people that are in charge of our country, making our laws, Congress. Granted, I'm going to say Trump's not one of them, even though he does make pretty dumb remarks on Twitter now and then, which cracks me up because it just drives the mass media nuts. It just twists them into such a fury, and they can't even see straight. But the stupidity of our congressional leader to actually state that the Purple Heart should be given to such an anti-American person for lying is probably one of the worst violations of patriotism in my mind. I just, I can't even bring my thoughts to it. It's just mind-boggling. I just can't understand why anybody would even do that. Just unbelievable. It's just beyond. Okay. And that's just a small part of what's going on in our country nowadays. We're about 8:42 on the outside there. It's about, 18 minutes away from the top of the hour. I want to get into something else here really quick. Even though the Purple Heart issue really struck a nerve with me to no end. It really did. How anybody could actually do such a violation against those who give you the right to sit there and trash our country. Why would you do that? Just answer me that question. Congressman Cohen. Why would you do that? Why would you even make that kind of a statement? I don't know. It's just absolutely amazing to me. Let's see. Let's bring up something here that's really interesting also, is the protests that are going on overseas in London. And they were doing some interviews. And one of the interviewees, which was Sean Hannity, if you hadn't seen it, he was interviewing people. And one of the interviewees said, or he asked him, why are you here protesting? He says, I'm protesting Trump. Why are you protesting Trump? And he goes, because of his policies. And he said, which policy? He goes, all of them. All right. Asked another guy, why are you here protesting Trump? Why? Because he's a fascist. What's a fascist? Doesn't matter. He's a fascist. Okay. That being said, I had to got the definition right here, folks. Fascism. I often capitalized. Okay. A political philosophy, movement, or regime, such as that of the fascist, that exalts nation and often race above individual, and that stands for a centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader. Severe economic and social regimentation and forcible suppression of the opposition. A tendency towards or actual exercise of strong autocratic or dictatorial control. Stupidity of people. I feel so sorry for our youth nowadays. They want to have a socialistic government. They call people fascists. They don't want to use the word communism yet because that's too far out for them to understand that. But socialism and fascism is the first step to total control of our country. And if we lose control of our country, you will never get it back. When our founding fathers decided to write the Declaration of Independence for the 13 colonies that I read last year or last weekend, saw an opportunity, because you have to understand what happened with our country at that time. We're talking the entire world spent thousands of years being ruled under the yoke. And I do mean thousands of years. It went on for decades. One person after another. First there's communism, socialism. Even during the Roman times, when they were actually doing a democratic society, it was still sort of a dictatorial because Caesar still had a choice, but at least the people were represented by the senators and stuff. But how did Caesar die? The senators killed him because they didn't like what he was doing. Okay, now that being said, all of a sudden, we hop on our little boats, if you will, and we sail across the seas to a new land. And upon this land, we created a new country. And what is that country that we created? Was the United States of America. So if you're sitting there with the ability to develop a brand new government without the oppressions of a monarchy, communist, fascist, socialist, Marxism, dictatorship, whatever it may be, with none of that involved. If you had the ability to start a brand new country, how would you do that? Think about it. It's also what consumed our four founding fathers for a good year almost before they finally settled on how our government shall be run. Because there was a lot of voices in there to make our country. But what it came down to is our government is for the people and it's by the people. And we have the right to change our government any way we want to. But it will be by unanimous vote. That's the reason why the Constitution will never be altered or changed. People are saying we should get rid of the Second Amendment and all this. That'll never happen. Because to ratify the Constitution, you have to have 2/3 of the states to get this ratified. And then it has to be ratified 2 or 3 different times to make sure it's legitimate and blah, 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 and so on and so forth. Our Constitution and the way our country is set up is probably one of the most powerful things in the world. It's the reason why so many people want to come here and live in this country. The only people that are going to other countries to establish their rule, if you will. Think about that. That's why they're there. They're establishing their rule of law. Our country is to suck us dry, pretty much. I don't want to get into that part of it. But you have to realize we are here for the people and we will make them free. And because we can make them free, we are going to actually enjoy the life that we have. And that moment means we're 10 minutes to the top of the hour. I'm Russell Mays, and we shall be back right after this. Yes, we're back. We're about 9 minutes away from the top of the hour. I'm Russell Mays, and we have quite a few people joining us here on the live broadcast on Facebook, also at www.therebelhd2.com. You can see and hear everything that's going on in our world through the eyes of Russell Mays, if you really consider what I feel. That's anything. Phone number is 702-895-3915. Looks like the weather is, let's get another update on the weather, what's happening on the outside. 90 degrees here in Las Vegas. It looks like it's going to be a warm one with a little bit of humidity. And what we were talking about is our country and how fragile it is. Because the only thing that's very, very true and how to change the way our country is perceived and developed and viewed is through the youth. And our educational curriculum is very left-leaning. And that's how they're doing it, is you have to not change the minds of people such as myself. We're already set in our ways. You have to get the minds of those who have not had a chance to develop or to form an opinion about anything. So they jump straight into the feel-good aspect. Oh, it makes me feel warm and fuzzy. Oh, without thinking about it, that's the way they do. But it's also statistically confirmed that those, I love that auto lights in the studio out here, that those who are liberal left and radical, if you will, find that after life has beat them up throughout their span of life, if you will, become conservative. And the reason is because there's no meaning behind the socialistic ideals of the democratic social society, where everybody shares everything. It doesn't work. Never has, never will. For the simple reason is, the reason why you want socialism is because you want it for yourself, not because you care about all the other people out there. Think about that for a minute. Socialism is where everybody cares about everybody, but there's still somebody in charge. That's the reason why it doesn't work. There's also those who do not want to work for the socialistic society. They want to sit back and get their EBT cards and their welfare checks and along those lines. It's, what are you willing to do to make your country great? What are you willing to do to put forth your ideas? Okay, Kavanaugh, Brett Kavanaugh, guy up for the justice. When Trump nominated him that day, outside protesting his nomination were the protesters. I mean, it was like, okay, here it is, Brett Kavanaugh, you're my nomination. Instantly, they had signs with his name on it saying, down with him, ooh, bad choice, don't elect him, no, bad. But what they found out is these protesters had signs for every one of those people that he was going to select from, already prepared. So it didn't matter who he chose. They didn't care about that. They don't care about the country that they're living in. They only care about their own self-satisfaction. So no matter what he did or how he chose it, why they protest is beyond me. Why are you protesting? Why do you hate this person? Why do you like this person? Do you need your crying closet again? It's no wonder I'm getting gray hair, folks. This country is such a great country, and we have so many people that think that this country owes them something. In the words of John F. Kennedy, ask not what you can do for your country or what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. That's what it's about. And this border thing about immigrations and illegals and everything else, our president has the ultimate right, legally, to shut the borders down completely. Boom. During 9/11 they did. Closed all the borders. Nobody in, nobody out. And not one person complained about that. So what do? We sit there and listen to these people that run roughshod by yelling. And you can see it on the news also. Anytime someone tries to have a legitimate conversation or discussion, they yell and scream and point fingers and call you racist and homophobic and xenophobic and Islamophobic and you name it, Mexicanophobic or Indianophobic, any kind of phobia they can throw out at you just to shut you up because they do not want to hear the truth. If you want to have a discussion with me, that's perfectly fine. If you want to yell at me, I'm going to shut off all right there. You're not going to get it through anywhere. Have a discussion. Tell me your points of view. I'll tell you my points of view. If I'm right, I'm right. If I'm wrong, prove me wrong and show me the reasons why I'm wrong. Then I'll accept the fact and we'll move on. But people don't do that nowadays. The question comes down to is what are you going to do? Think about it. What are you going to do? Are you just going to let our country go by the way of the socialist, fascist, people calling out liars and cheats that should get Purple Hearts? I really have a problem with Steve Cohen, Congressman of Tennessee. I'm sorry. That just burns my backside, to be honest with you, folks. Should never have done that. Anyway, we're about 45 seconds before the top of the hour, and they're going to boot me out of here again, as they're always booting me out of here. My name is Russell Mays. You can catch me again. Looks like this broadcast will be rebroadcast again later on today, I guess, once I get back to the home studio and voice my opinions there like I always do. I do appreciate the feedbacks that I do get back from a lot of people. Some people think my views are weird. Some people love them. I've got a lot of good folks out there that are listening to me from coast to coast, there's no doubt. Both California, New York, Florida, and got a couple here from Chicago also. Take care now. Bye-bye.
HD2 KUNV Los